think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is Monday. Happy Monday. Every day is a Monday to me, but happy Mondays. Today is January 29th, 2024, the last Monday of the new year well, not of the new year, but of January of the new year. So we are almost at the end of the first month heading into February. How about that? How about that, huh? We are pushing forward. We are making it. So let's get into the show. If you do not know who I am your host of the Tech Coach Ralph channel. I am Tech Coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win, just like it says here. All right. So, Coffee and Kata show. We have our cup of coffee. Got a big cup today. We have our news articles, and then we're going to get to work. Let me open up after. All right. So we are going to review some quick news articles before we get into going back into the Chaos Camp Challenge for testing OpenAI. We've been working through that using BDD and Python. Real good stuff, right? We are learning tons and tons along the way, and that's the purpose of the morning show is to wake up our mind, to get some challenges. So once we hit the workday, we're ready to crush it. We're not wasting any time. But an added benefit is that it's also a mini software exploration, because we're learning more about BDD, we're learning more about Python, we're learning more about Behave, we're learning more about OpenAI, and then we can take those and we can apply those to pretty much whatever it is that we are doing, whether it's like personal work or work in the workspace. So that is the goal of this morning show. So hopefully you find that helpful, interesting, entertaining. So let's just jump in. Yesterday we had a shortened show because I had some things to do right after. So we're going to pick back up on our Terraform next Sunday. We are right about at the brink of finishing up what we've been working on for it before we head on to the next thing. So it's all good, right? Like working on projects that actually have value. That's the thing that I continue to preach to you on, how to continue to grow and get better. Okay. All right. So let's go to our news stories. Where are we? Okay. So move this over here. All right. And let's put up our timer up. And let's start up a 5-minute timer. And let's move on. Let's move to. All right. So let me zoom in one more. Okay. So our first news story of today is global hiring surges amid US cuts. So they're still hiring globally, although we are cutting down in the US, right? So looking for a remote job, try searching abroad. American workers are increasingly taking remote positions with international companies, including those in the UK, Canada, and Australia. CNBC reports global hiring of Americans grew 62% last year as international firms seek U.S. talent, perhaps taking advantage of the wave of layoffs that have swept the country. However, professionals who secure foreign jobs will have to contend with different time zones, complicated tax issues, and even cultural clashes, says one human resource specialist, which that makes sense. And the first thing as I was reading this, I'm like, I wonder how the tax situation works because, you know, here, like even based on like the state that you work in, even if you're working remotely, there's different tax laws that the companies have to contend with, and that's why some companies they won't hire, like they won't hire in like certain states like California or New York or something like that. It just depends, right? But yeah, so it's very interesting that people are getting hired like globally, So, but it's good because people are still finding a way to get employed. So that is absolutely amazing. All right, let's move on to our next one. So this one says CEO warns on overemphasizing tech. At this year's CES Technology Expo, L'Oreal CEO Nicolas Hieronymus was joined for his keynote address by an AI powered beauty genius that peppered him with product recommendations. L'Oreal, he ventured, is a tech company, right? It's an argument other companies, including Tesla and WeWork, have made before, often to their detriment. Tech companies typically benefit from high margins and low scaling costs, advantages manufacturers and other capital intensive businesses lack. Firms that overemphasize tech and try to follow an inapplicable Silicon Valley playbook risk being overvalued and neglecting necessary steps to grow, scale, and prosper, experts warn. So, as far as I totally agree, right? Because trying to position yourself as a tech company when you're not a tech company, like L'Oreal, they make makeup, right? I haven't seen any. Maybe they try to. I don't even. I really don't understand how this CEO like he's probably trying to chase a wave or something. And I think last week we read something about he said something about remote work and something like that. But I just with L'Oreal in particular being a tech company, I could see the case for Tesla being a tech company because they manufacture actual products. But I think like with Tesla, the software that they use to power their vehicles or their whatever it is that they're using, that is like that is more closer to it being a tech company, producing robots and stuff like that than L'Oreal who produces makeup, right? And WeWork, I'm not sure how WeWork sees itself as a tech company. Maybe they offer spacing for tech companies to work from, but I don't know. But but this article is correct. Trying to say that you are a tech company when you're not is just going to make it a little bit tougher on you. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next article. All right, so this one says childcare costs soar worldwide. So while there are hiring globally amid U.S. cuts, the cost of childcare soars worldwide. So it's a global problem. The soaring cost of childcare amid rising inflation is both hurting families and countries where women are forced to leave work, according to Bloomberg. Average daycare fees worldwide rose 6% in 2023 from a year earlier per consulting firm ECA International, while costs in the U.S. shot up 9%. Meanwhile, the U.S. economy loses an estimated $237 billion a year due to women reducing their work hours to look after children. The cost also means women pass up promotions or have fewer kids. Okay, so sounds like people are prioritizing what is important to them. Okay, all childcare workers in Kentucky can get free childcare themselves under a rule passed in 2022. How is that even possible? I would be curious to know how all childcare workers in Kentucky get free child. Okay, so that makes that makes a little bit more sense because there's probably not that many people in Kentucky in the first place, and then there's probably not that many childcare workers in Kentucky to be getting free childcare. And if they are getting free childcare, it might be under the place that they're working at. It's very interesting. I have to look that up. Residents in New Mexico, one of the country's poorest states, I did not know that New Mexico is one of the country's poorest states, are eligible for free childcare thanks to oil revenue. It's interesting how the poorest state can afford free childcare, but okay. Anyway, so let's read this real quick. According to care.com, it costs an average of $17,000 per year. I repeat, $17,000 per year for daycare and $40,000 for a nanny. Additionally, only 4% of employers offer some sort of reimbursement. With that being said, not all workers are parents, so a benefit for childcare reimbursement wouldn't benefit everyone. That's a fact. Perhaps it's time for a pick your perk benefits environment where an employee can select from a menu of benefits up to a certain dollar amount, just like Burger King. Have it your way. Some people don't like pickles on their burgers. I absolutely appreciate pickles on my burgers. All right. So that is that one. Let's get to our last story of the day before we get to work. Okay. All right. So this one says remote staff laid off 35% more. Ooh, that is very, very scary for all the people who are it's remote or nothing. See, when I was looking for a job, I didn't have that mentality. Like, would I prefer remote? Absolutely, I'd prefer remote. But it was never to say, oh, I'm only going to take remote because I was ready to go to the office. I was ready to travel, do what I have to do. Right. So commuting into the office may not improve your productivity or employer's financial performance, but it could save your job. See, I agree with that, right? It doesn't necessarily improve your productivity or help the company financially, but it could save your job if that's what the company wants. A new analysis of 2 million white collar workers found that remote staff was 35% more likely to be laid off last year than hybrid or on site employees. The Wall Street Journal reports. Analysts theorize that managers have weaker interpersonal bonds with employees they don't see in person, and that pandemic overhiring was concentrated in remote friendly industries and roles. Some executives also believe office office work office workers are stronger performers and have targeted virtual roles during cuts. I don't really agree with that, but okay. 10% of remote workers and 7% of in-office or hybrid workers were laid off in 2023. So about 3% more than the in-office were laid off. The analysis showed remote workers were more likely than their counterparts to quit. The analysis showed remote workers were more likely than their counterparts to quit. I mean, if it makes sense because if you are limited to a certain demographic of where you can work in office, you have a lot less options versus if you are like very skilled and qualified at what you do. And people like because I'm telling you, people are always reaching out on LinkedIn and stuff like that to try to get people to come work for their company or to recruit them for like to work at another company. So it's it's kind of like when online dating became a thing, people expanded from their local remote towns and stuff to be have the whole world at their fingertips to be able to access for the dating world. So that totally makes sense. Is this worth reading? Not so much. Okay, cool. So that was our news stories for today, our news segment, and pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. All right, so now we are going to transition to working on the coding challenge. All right, so let me pull up PyCharm like we always do. Okay, that was hot. And we have Python up, or not Python, but PyCharm up, ready to go. I always call it Python when I mean PyCharm. And let's not show the tips. Okay. And let's pull up the challenge that we're doing. So where we're at now is that we're just building out the test, and then we have to find a way to go back in and get some type of validation, right? Because we can put our expected results, but the answer that we don't really control how AI is going to give us the answer because it might write us a book. It might we can try to specify, okay, this is how I want the prompt and stuff like that. But there's no guarantee that's going to happen. So what I decided to do, like, okay, we're going to write out all the tests, right? And we're going to see the responses that we're getting from OpenAI, make sure that, like, it's relevant. And then once we are ready to, like, actually do the validation part, then we're going to probably implement some type of NPL or something like that to be able to process the answers and give some type of score, right? So what I'm thinking about is, and let's start the clock now that we're talking about it. Let's go with 20 minutes. Yeah, 20 is good. Right. So what I'm thinking about is maybe we can give it some type of score, right? So you compete, like, so you take the response that you get from OpenAI, and you have your expected response, right? And you say, all right, you want to compare this response to, like, the response from OpenAI to the expected response, and give it a score, right? Measuring the context and then everything like that, and say, if the score is greater than 4 out of 5, maybe, then this is true or accepted or whatever, and it passes. If it's less than 4, then it's not true and it fails. So that's how I'm thinking about approaching it going forward. But once we get there, then we'll think about it and hash it out a little bit more, do some more research. But that's just the general thought that I have right now. So where are we now in this project? So we did the long conversations. So let's take a look over here. So we did the long conversations, right? We did that. Next up, measure the response time for various queries. Provide a report on average, minimum, maximum response times. So we would have to figure out how to do that. So let's do. Guess you guys heard that loud car driving by. Let me see. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so how to measure response time of API. How to measure server response time from Python requests. Let's take a. I think that's a good one to look at. Let's see. I created post. The response object requested by request post and request get has a property called elapsed, which provides the time delta between the request was sent and the response was received. To get delta in seconds, use total seconds method. So response equals response elapsed total seconds. So look at that. We learn something new every day because I did not know that. So let's very simple. Let's implement that. You learn, like, and this is the reason that I love to do this, like, I'm telling you, since this was, like, probably one of the first things on my list to do, which ended up being the last thing that I actually implemented, was, doing these early morning shows where we can get our mind focused and awake. Because I have some really good stuff to do at work today, but getting my mind awake to be able to think through them and accomplishing them is so valuable. So this is what we're gonna try to do. So the property is elapsed, and then we're gonna say total seconds. So, and in the challenge we need the response time for various queries. Provide the report on average, minimum, and max, right? So the question is now, so now that we know we can use elapsed, right? How are we going to calculate the average, the minimum, and the maximum response times. So here's what I think. Here's what I'm thinking, right? We are going to throw a series of questions out there. Um, so we're gonna have our feature, right? Our feature file where it's going to say, okay, um, ask OpenAI these questions, and then we are going to capture the elapsed time, add that to a list, right? So let's say we do 10 different questions, and we put that in a list, or we put the response time in a list, and then we say, okay, now from that list, I want the average, I want the minimum, and I want the maximum response time. Okay, and then we'll check if Python. I think they should have some type of function. I don't know. Well, I don't know, but to capture the minimum time. So we'll figure that out as we go along. Okay, so let's write out our feature, our test, right? So let's transition to this screen, and we are going to. So we have our shared right here. Um, so here we are going to say. So this test is. mm, let's call it response times. All right, and we are going to say. Let's zoom in a bit. Okay. So here feature. That doesn't like it zoomed in, did it? Yes, it did. Okay, we're gonna say measure the response time for various queries. Report. Jeez. Report on average min max response time. So here we're gonna say scenario. Um, capture the response time or validate the response time validate the response time for validate the response time for request to open AI is below set service level agreements. All right. And we're going to say we can just copy the long conversation, right? So if we go here, we paste that. So when I send a series of queries of prompts to OpenAI API, right? We send the series of prompts to OpenAI API. Then the So I would say all right, so then I'd say then the minimum response time for all the queries is greater than I don't know, let's say 5 for now, right? And this one min e mum, and the maximum response time for all the queries is less than 10, and the average, and this one is going to be interesting because that one can always change. And well, all of them can always change, to be honest, but at least we capture the data that we're looking for. So the average response time is, I don't know, let's go with 7.5. I don't know, keep it right in between 5 and 10, I guess. I don't know. All right, so here we are. I guess for that one, we could also say like it's greater than 6, but less than, or greater than 7 and less than 8. I don't know. Um, yeah. Anyways, that's fine. So let's go with that. Now we can go with. Okay. So this is task accuracy for long time. So I think this is the one that we really need. That's one we're working on the other day. We called the shared function. All right. So this is actually we didn't finish this one last time, did we? So okay. We didn't finish this one. So we can. All right. We'll come back to this one, right? Because we already started on the other one. So let's continue with this one. Let's continue with the other one for now. But so we can do is copy this right here. And actually, no, this one can stay, right? Because it'll pull from there anyways. But and then we can always change that later. But we can do. So I have a work in progress on this. Let's take that out. And all right, so we have the prompts that are going to be coming through. So now what we want to do is let's do a steps file, and we'll call this metrics. So with metrics, now we can say so we're gonna say here. There's gonna be a then. We're going to have to import from behave. Okay, and then here's gonna be define a function definition of calculate minimum response time of API call. Context. And in here, we would do so in here we would say so we would have to store the context variable in another location. So if we're doing it here, context response from OpenAI, response from OpenAI. See, and part of so okay, let me see. Send prompt to OpenAI. So let's see if we do the send prompt to OpenAI. What are we getting back? So right now, send prompt to OpenAI. So the question is, do they have the elapsed on there? So let's do this. Let's run it real quick. And we shall do let's just do a pass on that one. Now, and if we look over here, let's see. We shall do task accuracy. I don't think it's task accuracy I'm looking for though. Okay, so prompt to send to OpenAI. All right, so we got that, and okay, it's sending that, and that's returning the return. Okay, so it's returning that. So we have to assign whatever comes back from this to the context variable as well. So let's do context dot response from OpenAI equals response from OpenAI. Oh, no. This isn't the one that I want though. I want this one. This one is being very specific to that. I want that. And I'll refactor this later. I don't like this like that because it's not accurate as I like it to be, but I just want to see if it works first. So, if we do this right here, and we go in here, and let's do a print. So now we can get rid of this pass. Make sure we have our work in progress tag on this. And if we do, probably need to do OpenAI key again. So let me go ahead and get that. Before I go searching for keys, let me just see if it's gonna. Let me see if it's gonna require if it's gonna ask. Usually it does, but let's say behave w-k. Yep, we need to open. I have to just hard. I just have to set it into my export path apparently. Okay, so let me go to full screen. And mm,
Lunch break! Lunch break!
all right, so let's see what's going on real quick before we wrap it up for today. So it's making the request. Okay, so it says the step is not implemented for that part, which is fine. So, mm, so we printed out this. Mm, I don't. Let's see if they have the elapsed. I'm not entirely sure if they do, but let's say let's say elapsed, and then to what did the documentation say? Total seconds. See, and now the question is this library a part of if this library a part of the what do you call it? The OpenAI library, right? So I'm just gonna reduce the number of things that are being asked to it. Let's say it has, oops, these two questions that it's gonna pose, right? I just want to see if there is an elapsed property on the other one, like from the OpenAI client that we're using, if they have an elapsed category there or elapsed property. Because if not, then we have to find another way to capture it, which is fine. It's just this is why we test it, so because we need to know. Okay, so no attribute of elapsed. So okay, so that's what we're gonna have to look for. We just have to look for that. Because with the request library we could do it, but using the direct requesting it from Chat GPT with OpenAI, there's probably a different property for that we have to find, which is fine. It's just it's a learning experience for us as well, getting more familiar with the OpenAI API and libraries and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's that. On on Wednesday, we'll finish up the long conversation, and we'll see if we have enough time to get back to this one, where we can find the total or the average amount of time that it takes for a request, the minimum and the maximum, and continue working through our validation. All right. So that is that. Let me get this on the screen. So thank you for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. Go out there and crush it today. It's Monday, the best day of the week. And because with Monday, it's a new week, we get to grind, we get to push forward. So Let's go out there and win as we always do. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate you. Remember Candid Conversation coming out at noon today. It's called But I Don't Think of You. Very, very good insight and information. So definitely check that out. And then we're going to be going live again tomorrow night for our Q&A session. So all good things happening. So, subscribe to the channel so you can know all the things that are happening. And, do me a favor, like the video, share the video as well. And we can go from there. So one more time before I head off, have an amazing day at work today. Or maybe you are looking for work and you're studying. Whatever you do, put your 100% effort into it, because so many people out there are not. So it makes it very, very easy for you to stand out. And being able to stand out is what's going to make the difference for you in all your endeavors. All right. So with that being said, thank you again. I will check you guys later. See you guys in the chat at Candid Conversations. But on that note, this is Tech Coach Ralph signing off for another episode of the Koffee and Kata Morning Show. All right. Take care.
You might think that getting into the IT field is impossible without a computer science degree, but Tech Coach Ralph is here to prove you wrong. Get ready for some jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into this lucrative industry. Listen up, tech enthusiasts! Are you ready to break through into the IT field, but feel like you need a computer science degree to make it happen? Think again! Tech Coach Ralph has some exclusive, mind-blowing secrets to share with you. Get ready to be blown away by his jaw-dropping revelations on how to break into the tech industry without a computer science degree. So get your notepad ready, because Tech Coach Ralph is going to change your life forever. Buckle up, because you're about to embark on a journey to success in the IT field.